And I was devastated. I mean, to be honestly, I was really, really gutted.
Like you mentioned this already, and I didn't realize that at the end of season 3, obviously when Fox, and it boggles the mind when you think about ratings, because Fox were like, oh, it's not rating well enough for us to keep it. And then you look at the ratings, you're like, it was doing close to 5 million. Like in the UK, that would be like, that's good enough. We're keeping this. Yeah. But I guess in America,
it was a really interesting sort of social, I wouldn't want to say social experiment, but it was a really interesting insight into how TV is changing, because the network TV system was, they would talk about the ratings being demographics, and they were only concerned about one demographic, and that demographic was people between the age of 18 and 49, because they're the people that spend money on the commercials that fund this, and that's how commercial TV works. So it was all about, who are these people watching this show? And the computer said no to Fox. But the weird thing was that works to a certain degree, but what Fox hadn't counted for was now these days, of course, Lucifer was then being sold off to different streaming services around the world. So it was being shown at the same time, like a day later, to audiences across the globe. So even though Fox were getting their numbers in about how it lives in the Fox domain, what they weren't counting on was how popular it was becoming elsewhere. And that's when this kind of weird thing was like, well, this show that is on what they call on the bubble over here, which means it's like, it's got almost enough viewers to be safe, but not quite. Suddenly went from, they were like, oh, we're going to cancel that show. They didn't realize that there were like gazillions of people watching it who were going to say, hold on a minute, I was watching that. But you know, it was, I was fortunate to be on the right end of that kind of equation, basically. But it was an interesting insight, because we felt for a long time like maybe we weren't that popular, you know, and we were always sort of fighting for our lives, basically.
That sounds like an awful condition to work in, like constantly,
well, it is.
Like,
I mean,
with the axe hanging over you.
But that is how American TV, network TV works. Like, you're literally waiting for your viewing figures to come in to go, are we safe? Are we safe? Are we going to do another season? You know, are we going to do any more of this? And it isn't a nice environment to work in, because you feel like you're just being judged, and you're waiting for these sort of ice skating scores to come in that mean nothing to anybody. And yeah, I'm glad, you know, going to Netflix was also incredibly liberating in that sense, because we didn't feel like we had this sort of ominous axe over our heads. And we also felt like, oh, these people really like us, and like they really like what we're doing, and they've told us that, you know, and this is, so it felt very affirming from a creative point of view.
And it must have been nice. I mean, obviously not the best circumstances to be made aware of your fan base, but it was a huge deal. Save Lucifer trending on Twitter, and just to see that mobilization of the fans must have been quite nice.
Mate, that was what my turning point for me, because I'd found out the show had been cancelled about 24 hours before it was announced. And I was at a fan convention in Rome, having a great time, and I suddenly got this news. And from being in a room where everyone was celebrating Lucifer and talking about it and stuff, it was like that was it. It was over, and I was devastated. I mean, to be honestly, I was really, really gutted, because I'd been having a great time doing it, and just felt like, you know, we would keep going, because it felt like it had gained that popularity. So I felt devastated. And then as soon as it was announced to the public, my phone just blew up, and it started to make, initially I was just like, oh, well, this is lovely. Oh, people are reaching out saying how much they love the show, and this is amazing. And then this hashtag Save Lucifer started. And then like, it just didn't stop. It just kept going and going and going and going, to the point where I went to bed that night, got up the next day, and it was like, wow, people are really angry about this. And then I got a call from Warner Brothers saying that they were going to try and find a new home for it, but not to like hold my breath. These things are very unlikely, but just so you know, we're trying, because we've taken notice of the fan response. And that's when I packed my bags and sort of headed out to LA to try and help with that process. And as I got to Heathrow Airport, I got a direct message on Twitter from BBC Newsnight saying, we're following this thing about Save Lucifer. Do you want to come on the show and talk about it? And I'm like, on BBC Newsnight, this is bonkers. This is like grown-up news. What are you talking about? Okay, so I said, I'm on my way to LA. We'll do it. So we did it down the line from LA, and it just didn't stop that whole week after that. And then like going into the following week. And then I found out that Netflix had sort of swooped in, and they were sort of doing all the contractual stuff for a while. And I had to be tight-lipped about it. But yeah, it was amazing. It was really the most vindicating moment I've had in my career.
I mean, it's just to hear you talk about it like that. It must have been a really, not to over exaggerate, but quite an emotional experience to see that appreciation for something you're involved in.
It really was, and it set the tone for really how the last few years has been with our fan base. We do, as you say, like Outlander, we do have some rather rabid fans in the best possible way. I like to use the word passionate, tenacious, but we have some incredible fans.
Yeah, that's better than rabid. Rabid is a little bit foaming at the mouth.
Where are you, Tom? Exactly.
But whereabouts in New York are you? Show me where you are. What street you on? What's your hotel number?
Exactly. But they have been amazing, and it feels like they are shareholders in the show. And it's this kind of like two-way relationship with the fans is very unique to Lucifer, and something that I don't think will probably ever happen again on anything else I do. It's just the way that it happened and the involvement that they had in the show continuing, and the format it is in now is huge.
Hello, Alex here. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to get in touch with us at all, for any reason, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at JTFpod. And don't forget to subscribe to the full audio podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your pods.